First impressions are important when it comes to almost anything in life, and when it comes to Battlefield 6, I think it's safe to say that it has left a great first impression on myself and most of the community. Right when you jump into Battlefield 6, it's giving you a cinematic Battlefield atmosphere and experience, while also providing fun gameplay from the different playstyle classes and the ability to use those strategically with your team to capture and defend objectives. When you start a match, you and 30 other teammates are running towards the other team while tanks are destroying structures, helicopters are shooting down from the sky, jets are flying above the battlefield, you have medics running into the gunfight surviving people, engineers seeking vehicles to destroy, assault soldiers trying to push through the enemy team. I mean, almost every aspect of this game is just an immersive cinematic experience that you just can't get in any other first-person shooter. The game grabs you and pulls you into the experience immediately. But along with the awesome atmosphere of the game, there are many other aspects I want to talk about also. Some stuff good, some stuff bad, some stuff I feel that just needs tweaked a little bit. We're going to dive into talking about the settings, the guns, the maps, the classes, time to kill, cheaters, and crossplay. Now, the very first thing you have to pay attention to whenever you load up a new game is the settings. Every player is different and everyone has specific settings that fit them and how they like to play, so it is important that settings within any game should be easy to navigate and easy to understand the parts of the game that you are actually changing. And unfortunately, Battlefield 6 does neither of those things. I can honestly say that Battlefield 6 could possibly be in the top 3 worst gaming menus I have personally seen. Not only is it difficult to navigate on controller, but there are certain settings that just aren't labeled correctly, or they're just put under the incorrect category in general. The most important example I can think of right now is the soldier sensitivity and the aiming sensitivity. Right off the bat, I really just could not tell what my basic sensitivity setting was. I eventually found that it was labeled infantry aim sensitivity, which confused me because that makes it sound like it applies to aiming only, but then it turned out to be my actual normal sensitivity. And after I figured that one out, I was then looking for my aim down sight sensitivity, which I assumed was the next option down, called infantry mouse aim sensitivity. I know it had mouse in the name, but I already saw that the first option was named weird, so I tried it anyway. And of course, it wasn't what I was looking for. And after a ton of searching, I still couldn't find anything that had to do with aim down sight sensitivity. So I just assumed that both normal sensitivity and ADS sensitivity correlated with each other with that first option. So I was adjusting that to do both my normal sensitivity and my aiming sensitivity. I was just under the impression that I couldn't change them individually because I didn't see anything remotely correlating to that. It wasn't until the last day of the beta that I found out you have to go to the mouse and keyboard category to change your ADS controller sensitivity, which makes perfect sense, I guess. Of course, I should have known that my controller settings would be under the mouse and keyboard section. Overall, the settings menu is the worst thing about the game and just needs a massive overhaul in general. And I would say that the main menu where you choose your game modes also needs an overhaul, because for some reason, instead of going with a clean, easy to understand menu with vertical options, they decided to go the atrocious Modern Warfare 2 2022 route of doing a Hulu menu where you can't even see all your options on the screen. And really, that style of menus just needs to be deleted from gaming in general. I don't know why studios are deciding that that's a good idea. But along with the bad menus, it seems that on PS5 Battlefield 6, my controller was automatically enabling my adaptive triggers on my PS5 controller, and there was nothing in the settings I could find to disable them. I noticed that even big names on Twitter like Tom Henderson was having the same issue also. And it only happens in Battlefield 6 because my triggers are disabled everywhere else on my PS5. So I'm not sure if it's a bug within the game or what. But let me know if this has happened to any of you guys that have been playing on PS5. But now that the main negative thing is out of the way, we can talk about something more positive in the game, like the weapons. Overall, the weapons match the game perfectly. They all look stunning, both visually along with the animations. They sound crispy, and they all seem pretty much balanced, even for a beta. The only thing I could say about them is that the bloom felt pretty inconsistent and overpowering at some points. Sometimes it felt so terrible, like my bullets were not even hitting anywhere near where I was aiming. And other times it felt like I was shooting normally straight. I'm not sure what the default of it is supposed to feel like in this game, but as a whole, it doesn't need to be overpowering because it will cause a lot of inconsistent gunfights, which will really take the fun out of playing the game in general. And I know you guys can tell from watching these gameplays, I'm not the best Battlefield player in the world. I will fully admit to it being somewhat of a skill skill issue also. But at the same time, the bloom was definitely there, and I didn't really know my controller settings at the time, so cut me some slack for the gameplays. But the next and most important thing after the guns will be the classes that the guns are a part of. We have the classic assault, medic, engineer, and recon classes within the game, which is awesome. But I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Weapons need to be locked to their specific class. It would really force players to be more tactical and strategic with their class choices, and that overall makes a team work better when it comes to objective play. I don't think you should be able to put a sniper on a medic class and then sit in the back of the map where you can't revive and supply your team. I don't think you should be able to run an LMG on a medic class where you're supposed to be in close quarter gunfights. I don't think you should be able to run an AR or an SMG on the recon class where you can highlight enemies or be overly stealthy. And for the assault class, I don't think you should be able to have 3 weapons. You should have to commit to a gun made specifically for that class's playstyle without having a major advantage of multiple options. You should have to choose between either a shotty or a rifle. You shouldn't be able to have both of them. And I do know they have the Conquest playlist where weapons are locked behind the certain classes, but I really don't think it's healthy to have a separate playlist like that that's going to split the player base. They need to commit to one or the other and just say flat out, hey, this is how our game is supposed to be played, instead of creating basically 2 different versions of Battlefield 6. One of the main reasons previous Battlefield games were so fun to play is because you had to commit to a certain playstyle to contribute to your team winning. With open classes like this, it just enables more people to avoid playing objectives and avoid playing the way that each class is made to be played. And I really feel that that is against the true spirit of what Battlefield is supposed to be. Next up, going along with weapons and classes, it is the time to kill in this game. I'll keep it short and sweet for this topic, but I feel like the time to kill is rather inconsistent and super fast. I mean, I feel like I was getting like melted in gunfights without even a chance to have any sort of reaction. And I've heard some people say that Battlefield has always had a fast TTK, but I don't know if I really agree with that. I played Battlefield for a long while, and it feels like Battlefield 6 is the fastest I've ever seen in the Battlefield franchise. And along with the fast time to kill, of course on my end, it feels like sometimes I was dumping a magazine into someone and they just kept on breathing. It was just one of those weird situations where a lot of the times I felt like I was getting melted, but my bullets were doing nothing to the other players. And I know, like I said earlier, some of this probably has to do with my aim on some occasions, especially since I was still getting used to the settings by that last day of the beta. But another factor for this could definitely be netcode and connection-based issues. Since this is a beta, those are definitely things that could have been going on, and they will be improved upon by the full release of the game. So we will have a much better feel for the time to kill when the game releases on October 10th. But as of right now, to put it simply, it just feels very inconsistent and way too fast. Next, I wanted to touch on the maps because I have actually heard some interesting takes about them online. I've seen a good bit of people calling them too small and even comparing them to Call of Duty maps. And I can see somewhat of where those people are coming from. And now this isn't a bad thing. Like, I'm not saying a bad thing about the maps we have in Battlefield 6. Battlefield has always been known in the past to have a few smaller maps to choose from, to have a more chaotic and crazy experience, which can be fun sometimes. But it looks like for the Battlefield 6 beta, it looks like they may have put all of their smaller sized maps in the beta. And I'm hopeful that the rest of the maps that we will be getting at launch are a little larger size, because while the game is still really fun on these smaller sized maps, Conquest and Breakthrough definitely feel a bit better on the larger maps. You get more of a Battlefield experience with more vehicles, more helicopters, more jets, and more space in the maps to flank. And like I said, I'm not saying these things to hate on the maps we have in the beta so far. Cairo is a great map. Liberation can be fun depending on the mode and your team. And Iberian is a really fun close quarters map with a very chaotic middle section. But it will feel very nice to see how some of the larger maps are going to play once the game launches. But the map with the longest range is Liberation, and I really do have a love-hate relationship with this map. On Conquest, I think this map plays just fine. It feels like a classic Battlefield Conquest experience. But on Breakthrough, oh man, it is a hit or a miss. I'm not sure if it's because there are a lot of, newer people to the Battlefield franchise playing the beta right now, or if I'm just unlucky when it's coming to the team balancing, or if it's because my teammates do not play their chosen class the way it's supposed to be played. But this map feels extremely one-sided when it comes to Breakthrough. Of my hours playing this map in the beta, I think I saw one single game where the attackers were able to win. Other than that, it has usually been a one-sided, terrible experience on the attacker side where you can barely break through the first diverse sectors. And I don't think I'm the only one who's noticed this, so please let me know how you feel about that, about Breakthrough on this map in the comments below. Maybe it's because we don't have everything in the game unlocked yet, and there could be some more gadgets or equipment that will be out at launch that will help this map play better. Or maybe it's because for some reason the people on my team while attacking just wanted to sit back and snipe the whole time instead of pushing the objective. Or maybe it was just straight up bad luck. I don't know, we'll just have to play the map more to really find out. But this map feels really one-sided towards the defenders. If you're on the attacking side, I feel like you're at a major disadvantage and you're more likely to lose. And the last thing I wanted to touch on in this video is the crossplay and the cheaters, because they really go hand in hand for me. Because of how many cheaters I saw during just the first weekend of the beta, it's going to cause me to keep crossplay permanently off if possible. And it wasn't just cheaters that had obvious, aimbot or wall hacks or whatever. It was also people who were finding exploits to the maps, getting into places they aren't supposed to be getting into, giving them crazy advantages. This was especially a problem on Cairo and Liberation Breakthrough. On Cairo, I had people on the other team with aimbot, and they were able to find their way up to rooftops that aren't supposed to be accessible, making the matches basically unplayable. And the same thing happens on Liberation, where people were able to rock climb up the mountain, making them nearly invincible and invisible. The devs need to 100% make sure that these map exploits are fixed, and they also need to make a great effort to stop the hackers from infiltrating the game, because I found a very uncomfortable amount of them during just the beta. Now obviously for console players, turning off crossplay is an obvious fix for this, but for some reason when my buddy and I, who were both on PS5, turned our crossplay off and partied up together, it forced us to turn our crossplay back on in order to play the game. I really hope that this is a bug, because if it is intentional, I think it is really scummy to force people to play crossplay just because they're in a party together. If me and my buddy are both on console and we want to play against console players only, we should have the ability to do that. But I think that really sums up my first impressions of Battlefield 6. So far, this has been one of the best beta experiences I have had and seen. The game is already in a pretty good state just for a beta, so the fact that it's going to be even more polished by launch really bodes well for Battlefield 6. I'm excited to see some more maps, hopefully some slightly bigger. I'm really hopeful that they can tweak the class system to be more balanced and to really push players to play the objective and contribute to their team using their class's ability. And most importantly, for the love of everything, they need to overhaul the menus, because you should not need a PhD in engineering in order to navigate a settings menu in a video game. But please let me know everything you have to say and everything you have to think about Battlefield 6 so far in the comments below. I want to hear your discussions. I hope you guys all have a blessed day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.